Welcome to the Enduring Minds podcast, part of the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Bahamundi, and I'll be joined shortly by Evan Burch and our guest, Ryan Dubois. Enduring Minds is where we explore the intersection of mental health and endurance sports while breaking the silence surrounding men's mental health alongside the societal expectations and norms that discourage men from seeking help. We're here to have real, open, honest, and vulnerable conversations, creating a supportive space to share the struggles, the victories, and everything in between that shapes who we are. So leave the shame, the guilt, the fear at the door, and join us for another episode of Enduring Minds. If you are new here, we are on our 9th episode. All previous episodes are on the Run Try Bike YouTube channel and on the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform, alongside 8 other incredible shows, which is growing rapidly, which means that there is something for everyone. So go check it out, Everyday Athlete Podcast Network on your favorite podcast platform. And when you're there, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and if you use Spotify, comment on our episodes, as this helps us grow the podcast and be able to tell more incredible stories. So without me rambling on further, let's bring Evan onto the show and chat with him for a few minutes before we bring our guest on. Evan, how are you doing today, man?
Yeah, well, Jason, just recovering from my 50 miler on the weekend. So,
How did that go?
Good. I came in under my 12 hours that I wanted for my prep for Tahoe 200. So I'm, feeling good. You got a little bit of a leg thing, but nothing major, nothing I can't work through.
Awesome. Good to hear that you've come through and you're making your way towards Tahoe, which I'm super pumped about, because as some of you may not know, that was the very first place I actually met Evan in person after at least 2 years of engaging in conversation via the internet. So it'll be cool for you to go back there and put your training to the test for sure.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to be bringing on a gentleman by the name of Ryan Dubois here in a second, and I'm excited to have him join me. I met Ryan on LinkedIn, and honestly, like many connections we make, I have no idea how that came about, but it is one that I'm extremely grateful for because of what he shares on LinkedIn. There is a connection between his why and the doing, which is not something you get with a lot of social media posts, especially on LinkedIn. In 2021, he found himself at a fork in the road and had to make a decision in which way to go. He chose a Spartan race, which has transformed his physical life. But Ryan, like many of us, have found out that in areas outside of running that we are greatly impacted. For Ryan, it is being a father, an entrepreneur, and a person looking to take one step forward on a daily basis. I'm excited to get into this conversation, so let's not wait any longer and let's bring Ryan onto the show. Hey, Ryan, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Hey, by the way, I didn't ask you in the green room, but did I pronounce your last name correctly?
It's good. I say Dubois. I think it's been Americanized somewhere along the chain. I don't know. It's as far back as I know. It's just Dubois, but Dubois is fine.
I almost always, and I say almost because I didn't do it this time, ask how to pronounce people's last names, because with one like Bahamundi, it gets butchered often enough that I always try to make sure I get it right. So Dubois is what it is, and that's how we'll go forward. I'm going to jump right in, dude, because this show is about just having conversations and being open and honest with each other. And when you sent me your email with your images, the very first one that I opened up was of you and your dad. And it hit me right in the feels. And I have to wonder why that was a picture that you decided, of all the pictures that you have on your phone and on your laptop and everywhere else, to include in the email.
Way to go right for it, Jason. Appreciate that. Listen, that was so that's a picture of my grandfather.
Okay.
But you are right on that was my father who raised me. And he's a man that I aspired to be a little bit more like every day. So he's the guy who I look up to. I was raised by him. I spent a lot of time with him. And even though I didn't know it at the time, I learned so much from him. Even though he's a man of little words from that generation, right? Not a ton of words coming from that generation, but in their actions and how they lived is how I learned. And I learned so much from him. So he's at my center every day. You know, I sit down there at 4 a.m. at the table. And he's a big part of my daily routine for sure.
In that, library of pictures, it looks like then that's your grandfather later on in life as you're older. Is that accurate?
Yes, yes, yes.
And so how does he help guide you as you go through this process? Like when you're in the article that we wrote for you about your how it all started, we talked about being at a fork in the road. When you're at a fork in the road and you have to make a hard decision, do you play and replay what he has taught you, throughout life and use that as sort of your guiding principle then?
Absolutely. I try to do that every time, right? You ask that question, okay, he was Papa to me. So what would Papa do? What would Jesus do? Just like one of those questions, right? Um, and it helps simplify some of the answers that I come up with. Because he was a man of principle, integrity, and, you know, taught me how to love and interact with people and everything, that the answers really are simple when we actually slow it down and think about them, and put them in a different perspective.
Yeah, I say to my kids all the time that it's like it's not what I say, it's what you see me doing
Mhm.
that really is going to be. And I say that to my wife all the time too. We talk about it all the time. It's like you need to kind of put yourself first in a way to be able to show that to your kids. And I think that's kind of like what you said, like with your grandfather, just him putting himself kind of in that limelight, and you just seeing all of these actions and all these things and these things that you just learn. And you don't even realize you're learning them at the time
Mhm.
until you get older and you're like, oh, that's what that was about.
Yep.
And I think that's the thing, is like that knowing that they don't realize that they're like passing along to you themselves even. There's lots of lessons like that with my kids as well too, so I can totally relate to that aspect of it. With moving into the endurance world, Spartan races, all these other things, I can only imagine that your grandfather likely had an impact on you with that as well too. So what got you into the running endurance Spartan world?
Well, I've always been physically active, and maybe there's a sense in my career where kind of work took over, but I've always tried to stay fit and active. And then it came down to like a timing thing, where I just wanted the overall better workout. I wanted to challenge myself. I was a semi good athlete in school. I probably should have went to college for it, whatever. But now later on in my life, it's doing those challenges, just exactly like you said, um, to be an example for my kids and my family. To that healthy isn't hard if you make the daily decisions to stay healthy, and that's not just physically that's what helps with the other things, right? But it's just making that daily commitment to being physically active and staying healthy.
In that answer, you said that you should have gone to college, but whatever. And you kind of just dismissed it and swept it under the rug really fast. And I'm no journalist, but that tells me that there's a story behind that statement that you swept it under the rug really fast. Is there a story that you're willing to share with regards to that? And it, because it kind of felt like there was some regret in not going to college to play ball.
Yeah. So I mean, earlier on in my life, I have used the word regret before, for sure. I don't use that word anymore because, man, I'm truly blessed. And because of all the things that happened, because I didn't immediately go to college, I mean, it's a snowball effect of good things in my life. I mean, I started a family. I was a father of four by the time I was 20, right? So I was 18 years old, married, two kids, and then two very shortly after that, um, which led me on to my path of entrepreneurship and business ownership and my career, which, Jason, how you know well some of my career path up to this point, but that's what led to launch. Was that, man? I had to make it happen. Either that or we don't eat, right?
Yeah.
So it's going from high school sports to full time adulthood with a mortgage and a new house and all this kind of stuff, right? So that's kind of been a little bit of my mantra too, is like, hey, we're going to figure this thing out. I don't, maybe that's the confidence piece too, is like, I had to, it's either that or you don't survive. Right. So it was always finding a way. And I guess brushing under the rug was just saying that there was potential to do other things, but that just wasn't my path, man. So, and I don't regret any minute of it. Now, right? But that takes a lot of learning and a lot of reflection and a lot of going through those hard times. Be like, and I'm sure we'll dive a little bit more into that now, but it's a lot of learning along the way, man. That's I don't know how many years ago that is. It's 30 years ago, right? So, anyways.
No, and I fully understand all of that stuff. And it took me a long time to understand that regret is a waste of energy. Like you're constantly looking backwards instead of making the changes that go forward. I wanted to follow up on your point about confidence. Lori and I, my wife, we were driving this past weekend, and she made a statement about the confidence that she has sometimes may not be that great, because she's like, I'll just go do this thing. And if it fails, so be it. I'll go do the other thing. And sometimes when you're going through the thing, an anxiety might build up, right? Like, oh my God, this might actually fail. And so you have this anxiety, but your confidence has been built up for so long that you're like, I'm willing to go for it. Nothing catastrophic has happened so far. So let's do it. When you're making those decisions and that confidence creeps in there, do you ever hit the pause button to take a perspective? Because you are a dad, a husband, you got kids, you got a mortgage, you got all these things that are surrounding you. Do you hit pause before you just barrel forward to just gain some perspective? Or are you the person who's barreling forward and you'll deal with whatever the outcomes are, good, bad, or indifferent?
I think initially I was a bulldozer, but again, there comes the learning experience of, yes, hey, let's take a step back. Let's actually do the pros cons list. Let's play this thing out 6 months, 1 year, 3 years. Let's learn to protect ourselves. A few different job opportunities and things like that you learn from, right? I may have plowed through and like, oh man, this thing's going to be great. Everything's sunshine and roses. And then obviously it's, business pops in, you get grinded a little bit, which makes you learn. And hey, I got to step back. I got to protect myself and my family and do things a little bit different. So it's continually learning and growing while continuing to create action. So don't get, I don't get paralyzed, but I put all that together to continually make decisions, learn from them, and grow from them. And learning, right? You can make mistakes, and I've made a crap ton. I just try not to make the same one again and again and again, right? Which I did early in my life, but now I try to only make mistakes once.
Yeah, you learn more from your failures than you do your successes. There's no doubt. You can walk away from something that went really well and you'll forget about it very quickly. But if something didn't go well, that can eat at you for a very long time. So I totally hear that. Even running world, anything, business, like you name it, it's just, I think it's human nature, right? We tend to kind of put more value on those negative things because we think that that's like something that could have been done differently. And it's like, sometimes it's not a matter of even that. It's like, there is no right or wrong. I want to go back to the regrets piece because I think like the way that I've always coined regrets is like regrets is unrealized potential. It's like you knew, like by saying you had regrets, it's like you knew you had the potential to play ball in university, college, whatever it is. It's like, so that's what it is to me. It's like when you have that feeling, it just means that there was something that was there, but something else had to go in front of it. And like you said, growing up, basically you had to grow up and raise kids at the same time as growing up. Like male brains are not developed until age 26. And I can relate to that only because I came into emergency services at age 18 and I had to grow up through living through trauma and other people's trauma for 8 years. And you grew up raising kids and like you said, surviving, like you use that word. And I think that's such a unique aspect that people don't realize. It's like you were growing up too. and you were trying to raise these little humans. I mean, I have 2 girls as well, so it's like I know what that is. I had them a little bit later in life, but trying to kind of come to grips with that and understand that it's like you had to put something aside because another choice got made, and now it's like I'm responsible for these little humans that I need to put the best example forward. In order to do that, I kind of have to put myself on the shelf for a while, which is not an easy decision to make. So how did you transition away from, I would say, kind of living for just yourself, and now you're living for you, your wife, your kids? Like, how did you transition into that? Like, was that an easy transition for you because of the way you grew up with your grandfather?
It was an easy transition for me. Yes, because of the example that I had and I learned from. I didn't know it at the time either, but I look back and it was easy. I think probably because I was madly in love with my wife, and it was. I say I was. I'm not saying I was. I still am madly in love with my wife, but at the time, things are easier when you have a different mindset, and it's just like, hey, I'm going to make this work. We're going to make this work. I'm 18 years old trying to get apartments, buy houses, and all that kind of stuff. People don't sell houses and rent apartments to 18-year-olds, right? But of course, it was different age back then, right? So I could get a house at 18. I don't know if you can do that nowadays, but anyways, there's a way, and it was just like we're either gonna win or we're gonna win, right? There's no losing here. We're gonna figure out a way. I guess it was just easy because of the mindset. Um, and when you're super passionate about something, all the stuff kind of falls into place. Maybe not the way that you'd like it, maybe not pretty, but when you have that passion and you have that love and everything, it does seem easy at the time. Looking back, it definitely wasn't easy, but it seemed easy at the time.
You mentioned the mindset. Does that mindset help you within the realm that you went into with the endurance sports?
For sure, because I mean, like you said before, there's so much untapped potential in human beings as a whole, let alone what I know I have inside myself. Just learning, just tapping into this world a few years ago and seeing what people are doing at the ages that they're doing, I'm like, man, there's so much more room for growth for myself. And, I'm into my 40s and everything, but I see, like, even last week at that Cocodona 250, I'm watching some of those guys, and, I like watching Cam Hanes and all that kind of stuff. I see him, he's 57 years old, and man, that's just inspiring what we can do. So there's just a ton of untapped potential, and I see that. I'm like, hey, man, well, why can't I do that? Right? I can, right? As long as I put in the time and the daily effort, I can do that. I'm not saying I can't do it. It's just going to take some time and effort.
I don't know if you felt this, but when you talked about being madly in love with your wife, the smile went from ear to ear and teeth showed, which is a huge indication that what you were saying was not fabricated. And I wonder what that support means to you when you go out and you're making decisions about life, about, do I pursue this job? Do I pursue this path on during the entrepreneurial phase of the startup or whatever it might be, or exiting for that matter? What's it like to have that support? Because for me, oftentimes I see men trying to pretend like they're not in love, like trying to not say how in love they are with their wife, as if they're doing it all on their own, as if they're the only thing that matters in the relationship. But you did it, it seems subconsciously, but you talked about it. And so I wonder what it's like for you knowing that that support is there to go and make the decisions that you are making on a daily basis.
It's the best feeling in the world, Jason, because if it wasn't for my wife, I'd probably be dead, in jail, or I don't know where the hell I'd be in my life. Like, she is the true angel sent from above that probably should have left me 700 times, but she stuck with me. We've been through everything together, and I just know the things that we went through and where we are right now in our relationship. It gives me the utmost confidence that she's going to be by my side, and we're going to make decisions together. When before, maybe I used to, that bulldozer comment earlier, maybe I used to bulldoze through some things and did it without, checking with her or whatever, or getting full support, and it didn't go well. You know what I mean? So it's, again, learning, but now we have that collaborative relationship that we've built up over 24 years. And it gives me a ton of confidence.
I will say this. So oftentimes, you'll go, for me, especially for LinkedIn, I go to LinkedIn and I see posts there, and I just roll my eyes as hard as I can possibly roll my eyes, because 9.9 times out of 10, it's somebody telling me how I can make $1 million just by clipping my toenails on a Tuesday. And it's like, man, your posts come through with passion, but again, it's in a digital world, right? So I'm taking in what you're writing through a digital means. Talking to you live and in person here, you wear your emotions on your sleeves. Like, you may not even know that you're doing this, but again, you're smiling the moment you're saying how much you love your wife. As you're talking about and reflecting on the things that went through, your voice lowered because you were taking in what you had done and the support, and it gave you perspective is what it felt like. And so I don't have a question more so than a comment to say thank you for being who you are in person, and also that same person that I see on LinkedIn, because now those connections mean more. Like, for me, it means more to be able to say, yeah, this is a guy who means what he says when he's posting it on LinkedIn.
No, I appreciate that. I'm glad it comes through that way. I mean, only get one shot at this thing, man. You might as well be you, right? And try to make an impact along the way. And that's one of the things that I have loved about LinkedIn is the networking piece, is the just meeting new people. And I don't know, I just love people. I love connecting. And hey, we all have something to give. We all have something to learn from each other. And anyways, yeah, it's been great.
I hear, and even Jason and I've talked about this a long time, like the women that we're with that support us, my wife, Jason's wife, Lori, and my wife, Cassie. I feel it's interesting when like you're talking about your wife, because as you're talking about your wife, I'm literally thinking about mine, going like, damn, like it's the exact same thing. Like it's the exact same feeling that I'm getting when I'm sitting here when you're saying it. And you throw kids into the mix as well too. What is it like for your kids to be able to see that love between you and your wife? Like, what does that mean to you?
I think it shows them the example of how to love, and stemming back to my grandfather. I didn't know it at the time. I know it today, but he's the first one who taught me how to love and truly love a woman. And I don't, I don't know that you see that a lot anymore. Maybe you do, but it's the kitchen. It's just those everyday interactions are important. It's the dinner table, just sitting at the dinner table with your kids. It's just all that stuff it's everything. I mean, it's the center of our world, right? It's how families are built. It's how communities are built and countries. I mean, everything. I believe it stems from the family. It stems from the kitchen table. It stems from the house. Just that loving relationship. Just like, the good book says, hey, love me and love people. That's it, man. It's just all about love.
Yeah, and I'm sure your kids see the way that you and your wife treat each other with respect, kindness, and all those other pieces, and like whether the chivalry, whatever you want to call it, like I don't think it's dead. And I say to my girls all the time, I said, when you get older and you have a boyfriend, I always pose this question to them. I even start when they were like 7 or 8, and they laugh. They say the same thing every time. I say, if your boyfriend pulls up to the house and he honks his horn, what do you do? And she says, and they say, repeat it right back to me. She's like, he's no longer my boyfriend. I was like, that's just, I just want her to understand that it's like she can command that respect, and like she own like that's hers. Like she can like have that for herself. And I think that's what I feel like I'm teaching them, is to be able to understand that it's like you deserve the world. And I think that's, I can just see it in your face, just the way, you talk about your kids and your wife. And I'm sure you feel the same way, but
No, I love that. I asked a little bit different question. I always would ask I like that one. My kids are all grown now, but I'll give it to my grandkids though. I'll use it on them. I used to ask the kids, the boyfriends or whoever, proposed boyfriends, if they liked their kneecaps. They'd be like, oh yeah, yes sir. I said, okay, good. Then you treat my daughter like a princess, and you get to keep your kneecaps. I had a little bit different spin, but.
One of the things I want to hit the rewind button on is in the answer you gave a little bit earlier, you said you might as well be you. And before we started the show, I mentioned my anxiety for imposter syndrome is sky high. Every time we post something on the Run Try Bike website, social media pages, wherever, my anxiety is through the roof because I'm hoping that it connects to somebody and I'm hoping that that somebody comments. And oftentimes I'm disappointed because most people are, for whatever reason, too busy. I put that in air quotes for those listening, to take the time to comment. Like, it's easy to double tap and scroll, but it takes a moment to comment. And that to me is where I live. I live in the comments because that feeds me. Tell me about your reactions, maybe go back a few years ago, for posting on LinkedIn and today. And are they different? Was there imposter syndrome a few years ago? Has that continued today? How do you deal with it if it does continue? How did you deal with it back then? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I would say that LinkedIn was always an online resume for me, and I never really used it to how I'm using it currently. And I was always nervous to even post anything, to put anything of myself out there, really, or even like anything, because I had like this whole thing about corporate culture and like corporate organizations seeing what I liked or what I commented on. So there's always some sort of fog there around that. And it wasn't until about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I started posting and commenting and everything. And I will say that it was slow at first. So I think there might have been like maybe some surface level stuff in the beginning, right? Just kind of scratching the surface, not really getting deep. But then I started transitioning and I started reading more. I started interacting more and seeing how people were communicating. I'm like, oh man, the more vulnerable you are, the more deep you get, the better this thing is, right? So then it started unlocking another level, and I just started. Not that I wasn't me before, but I started being more open to be like, hey, it doesn't have to be this corporate, pretty buttoned up picture, online presence or whatever. You know what? It is what it is. I'm me. And guess what? The people who hire me and I work with want to work with me. So like, it is what it is, and and it just, I don't know, that kind of opened up maybe about a year ago, and it has been unlocked other doors, which obviously led me to meet people like you, right? I started branching off into what does athletics and leadership and my business world have to do? How do those mix? Well, yeah, they're actually hand in hand. And it's actually a beautiful community of the athletic world and leadership world. That's just, it's great. But I just made that connection like probably about a year ago.
How do you then block out the noise, right? Because these platforms are filled with all kinds of noise. And as I was asking or thinking about asking this follow-up question, I wondered if your grandfather was giving you lessons about blocking out noise. And look, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and when your grandfather was 18, none of this stuff existed. And so maybe blocking out noise was a little bit of a different scenario, and you were able to bring it into the 21st century in a digital world today. But how do you manage to block out the noise so that you can be true to yourself, so that the people that work with you are getting the Ryan Dubois that they see and not the one that is underneath that level?
Oh man, that's a tough one to unpack. I think you can kind of sniff some of that stuff out nowadays. You can kind of, you can tell how people interact, and I don't know. I think LinkedIn's been pretty good at helping with that too. Maybe something with algorithms or some crap. I don't really know, but I tend to only connect with people who I want to connect with, and I'll send them a personal message. So if somebody like, and I don't just do random connections and just start like, connect. So I think maybe limiting my connections at the same time, not for just like, oh, I got 1,000 connections or whatever. Like, okay, who cares if you only interact with 55 of them, right? So I think it's being intentional about the connections that you have, the connections that you nurture and stay in touch with, like, and just keep. And then also the energy that you get from it. Are these energy giving or are these energy draining connections? So if they're draining, okay, well, like, listen, you only have so much time on this earth, right? So are we going to keep draining stuff? Now, there's the flip side of that. Okay, am I supposed to be inspiring and pulling that person up? So I think there's a balancing act there at the same time. But energy, energy giving people and just focusing on intentional connections, I think would limit the noise, in my opinion.
I had written down the word leader on my piece of paper, like probably 2 questions in, and I'm glad we're coming around to this because I want to hear about that aspect for you. I mean, being on LinkedIn and being that voice now, and also being chief operating officer of company, I would imagine that you have a lot of people that you answer to and that answer to you, whether it be top down, bottom up, ages, um, male, female, whatever it is. What does being a leader mean to you based on everything that you've learned and all that you've done? Like, what does it actually mean to you to be a leader to other people and to like have to follow other people and be, follow their lead as well too? Because obviously, you're going to have somebody you have to answer to as well.
Yeah, it's just, it means trying to. I mean, number one for me is it's all focused on people. Everything, no matter what you're selling or doing for business or whatever, it's all focused around people. I don't care what you do or whatever, it's all about people. So being a leader is, to me, is being focused on your people, on your team, constantly serving them and trying to create a culture, a raving fans culture that just keeps continually learning and pushing people up. So it's keeping that daily inspiration and drive for the team, being able to help them facilitate. So it's a helper, it's a server, it's a facilitator, it's all those things. Both, and also caring about their future, their family, not just them. Like when you make decisions at work today, I mean, there's 122 families that I serve, right? And the decisions I make today impact those families. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's all about inspiring and leading people the right way too, and then also helping them. Just from some of my experiences, is helping them focus on what really matters, and rallying behind a common cause and common goals.
In there, I started writing down this question, and because you were talking about leading 122 families, and I wondered, where does he go when he is the one that needs the help and the support? Where does he go? Who does he turn to? We talked about your grandfather and the lessons that you've learned. We've talked about your wife and the support that she provides. We've talked about the kids and the love that you get from them. Are there any other mentors or any other, is it maybe books or music? Where do you go in that moment when you need some help? Because look, when it's all said and done, we're all human beings and we cannot do all of this stuff on our own. And oftentimes men, I will put this on men, are afraid to reach out, right? Like it somehow shows weakness if we reach out and say, hey, I need help. I don't know why that is, but that's the stereotype. So where do you go when life is a little bit too much?
You're right, because being everything to everyone, you forget about yourself along the way, or you don't take the time for yourself, and um, that was a huge problem for me for a long time, and it wasn't until just a handful of years ago that I just did start focusing on myself, because I opened up a whole new world of. I always thought it was selfish, and I know I'm all over the place here, but I always thought it was a little bit selfish to take care of myself. And whatever that looked like, I didn't know what it looked like at the time, but I always thought it was selfish. Like, no, I got to be taking care of this. I got to be taking care of this. No, I got to keep the strong presence for the team. Always keep the strong presence. But now I intentionally built my mornings over the past several years, and it's fluctuated, what it looks like. But as soon as I open my eyes, as soon as I, get up, I mean, I go to God first thing. I sit down, I read, and I write. Every morning, I spend that intentional time. It has been books. It has been, when I'm running in the mornings by myself in the pitch black. Yeah, I'll put the podcast on. I'll put the book on. It's that no extra time when you're running 2-3 hours or whatever. That's a lot of time to think too. But yeah, tapping into the resources that are available. And I've done a lot of programs, audio programs. I mean, Tony Robbins has been a big part of that too, of the mindset shift. So I've done a lot of that type of work, a lot of leadership training through the Entree Leadership guys. So it's continually learning and growing that way too, because we're never done, right? And then it's linking up with people who are going to push and challenge you. Whether it's a group in my own neighborhood, we got 3 or 4 guys in the neighborhood. That it's not just physical stuff we do. We also get into some life stuff too, and help each other out, and have those vulnerable conversations. And yeah, and stuff like this too. So I mean, it's that's where I go now.
When you talk to your buddies, the 3 or 4 guys that you link up with in your neighborhood, how easy or maybe difficult is it to let them know that it's okay to be vulnerable? It's okay to share their story. It's okay to let it out, shall we say? Because, and the reason why I ask that is sometimes, maybe a lot of times, I think we say these things and then nothing ever happens from them, right? I often tell people, look, if I tell you to contact me and I will do everything I can, it's not lip service. I'm not just saying it to make you feel good or to make myself feel good and put a check mark like, hey, I offered help. I did what I had to do and move on. That if you text me or call me or email me, that I'm going to do the thing. And so, how do you guys ensure that it's just not lip service amongst the group?
I think it's in the moment stuff too. It's not like you just said. Oh, I'll pray for you, or whatever. It's like, no. Hey, do you mind if we pray right now? Like, it's that immediate feedback, that immediate, like, getting into it. Hey, we're gonna grab some coffee today. Like, we've had some things and some guys. Oh, yeah, we'll meet with weeks. There goes 3 months. There goes 3 weeks. So it's taken time to develop some of this stuff, but it's holding each other account. It's finding that group that will hold you accountable. You're like, hey, no, like, we're meeting for lunch today and we're going to talk. I don't care if we talk about anything. We're going to be just talk about whatever comes up, but we're going to meet today, because I think it's important that, to your point earlier, men helping build better men, because we need better men in our world for sure. And we don't do that unless we become vulnerable. Of course, that's the very, very, very hard piece, is to become vulnerable. And I'm still working on it for sure. I've kept a strong presence in front of large teams for a long time. And it's taken me a long time to learn that vulnerability piece is actually a lot more powerful than that powerful face that you keep on all the time.
Yeah, I was watching a video the other day that kind of speaks to the vulnerability aspect, and they call it, I don't know if you've heard the term shadow work before. Jason, have you heard that term before at all?
And
So the idea is like your shadow is always, so if you're depressed, joy is in your shadow, but you can't see your own shadow. So you need other people, community connection to be able to see that for you. And it's the same thing. So if your shadow is depressed and you're like showing some joy, well, you still can't see what's behind you. So you need other people to be able to be there for you to be able to see that. And I think that's what I think is missing. And I mean, I'm turning 40 this year, so I'm not going to say it's like it's harder to make friends when you get older, but it's true. I think it's you don't have those same like high school, university, college, sports teams. Like sometimes you're moving away from those things. You don't have those immediate connections. You really have like the people you work with, and maybe like the people in your community. And like it's really hard to make connections. Like when you talk about LinkedIn and all these other pieces. And Jason and I talked about it for a while about creating an enduring minds like call once a month with anybody can come on. There's no judgment, there's no anything. You can share, you can have people offer advice, you can say right off the bat if you just want to share something to get it off your chest, and everybody just kind of moves on. And I just think there's so many opportunities to create those connections in that community that I think we might be missing, because we think it has to be like right in front of us all the time, whereas we're a perfect example. Three people that live in completely different areas that are connecting in a very big way, that are willing to have these conversations. And I think that's what we're finding. Jason and I have found with all of our guests that we've had is there's something else to this podcast that we started off of literally one conversation. And we're excited to explore it. So I don't really have a question. I think Jason, I know you had a couple other touch points you wanted to hit on, but I just wanted to say that because I think it's huge to be able to have that community and connection. And I think that's what so many men are missing today. So to be able to have platforms like this that we can talk about it and create that, I think is important. And so I kudos to you for finding those connections within your own community and having that voice and that faith that you follow. It's not an easy thing to do when we're kind of brought up to be strong men that provide and don't talk about things.
But I think too, stemming off of that, the endurance athletic world has really opened that up for men too. I've never seen it before in my life. This community that takes these friendships to another level. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Like I've been on sports teams and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's because we're doing such hard things that it like just unlocks like, oh yeah, I can say whatever I want. I just did a 250-mile race or whatever, and I almost, you know what I mean? Like I don't know if there's something in that just unlocks different levels in men, to create deeper connections. But I feel it. Even on LinkedIn, even in this virtual world too, I've linked up with so many athletic leaders that have the same mindset of like, this is what they want to do. It's cool to be a part of it, and it's very inspiring, because you are right. It is very dark, and you can go down that solo road where you're sitting on the couch and you're watching TV and you're drinking beer or something. You know what I mean? Like just like isolation, trying to deal with yourself stuff on your own. And before too long, then you're overweight, all this kind of stuff, and then you're really solo because you're not a part of anything other than the football game that's on or whatever. Basically, you know what I mean? Like it's just a whole different world. So I've been very grateful for that too. Because, anyways, it's something I'd never seen in my life before.
Yeah, and I think to mirror that, I think the phrase that I heard was like the catch up culture, where if you say you want to go for a coffee with somebody, all you do is talk about like what you've been doing and like where you're going and what's happening, but you're not creating any new memories.
Mm.
So for me, it's like I'm making a point now of if I want to do something with a friend or something, like we go actually do something, because you don't have that like from like I think about the times when I was in junior high, high school, like growing up as a young adult and going out and doing things. And I think that's what that endurance community does, because it's like we're sharing these like I mean I run 200-mile events, like I'm sharing this time with like 4 days in the bush with all these people, and you just have this like you're like yeah like me too, because you're like you're all in it at the same time, but you're creating memories together. And I think that's what's really missing. The catch up culture is great if you want to go for a coffee, But if you want to like really get vulnerable and connect and like grow, you got to create new memories.
Yeah, that's good.
So this past weekend I was in Flagstaff and I went running with one of the social media managers for Catula, who's a client of Run Try Bike. And first of all, we're at 9,000 feet, and I live in LA at sea level, right? So we're going up Mount Eldon, and I just can't breathe. And I'm like, dude, you got to slow down, right? We had to stop and slow down. And I was raw, I was open, I was vulnerable in that moment, right? I couldn't be tough to say, let's just keep powering on because there was no oxygen for me. And I think in that moment, it's a great example of what we are talking about here because we're raw and we're vulnerable and it becomes a shared experience. I played high school football. I didn't play high school basketball. I didn't play high school golf. I didn't play college football. So I don't have that shared experience. I can't take my experience of playing defensive back in New York in 1990. Yeah, I graduated high school in 91. And relate that, excuse me, to the person who played at the University of Michigan in the Rose Bowl. Like they're not one and the same. And so it's not a shared experience. And I think that that's what gets missed in those areas, but actually comes together in running and endurance sports in general, right? That moment where you're bonking and you're on the side of the road and everything hurts. And another competitor comes up alongside you and asks, do you need help? What can I give you? How can I provide for you in that moment? And I think that's what you see, Ryan, in terms of that connection in endurance sports is that we're raw in the moment, we're vulnerable in the moment, and we're either experiencing it or have experienced it and we're seeing it and we're ready, willing, and able to lend a hand. And I think the key for us in general is to take that moment and bring it into spaces outside of endurance sports. Bring it into business, bring it into friendships, bring it into relationships where we can be raw and open and honest and vulnerable with each other, knowing that the person that we are with isn't going to ridicule us for it. And that's not an easy thing to do, right? Like, I don't care what anybody says when they say, I don't care what anybody says. Like you can talk bad about me and I don't care. I think that's complete and utter bullshit. I think we care about what people think about us. Sometimes it's at a level 10, sometimes it's at a level 1, but we do care because we want to be seen as somebody who's empathetic, who's a leader, whatever the adjective you want to use is. And so my question for you is, how do you take that vulnerability aspect that you're sharing with us here today and bring it into other relationships and into other workspaces? Is it as simple as just showing up and saying, I am Ryan, and here are the things that I've gone through in life, and I'm here to help you?
I don't know that it's that simple. I mean, maybe I guess it is that simple. In saying it, overdoing it. I think it's case by case. The situations that you go through as you come across it in your relationships, it's identifying your past and how you can relate to it and open up and be real of the things that you went through. So I think as it comes to you, yeah, you open up and you talk about the things from your past, and we went through those things for a reason, and I believe since we came out the other side, that reason is maybe to help somebody get through a little bit quicker. That they don't have to go through as much pain as you went through. So that's why I went through the things that I went through in my life. So when the opportunities arise, I don't know that I just blast everything out there and say, hey, here's my life's resume and all the crappy things I did. But finding those connection points to see how I can help with some of the things that I went through. Maybe it wasn't for nothing, right? Maybe there's a reason we went through everything. I believe that. So what can I take out of it to try and help somebody else? And by the way, when you do that too, I mean, most of the time, Jason, the LinkedIn posts, it's me looking in the mirror. You know what I mean? Like, it's those reaffirming things that I need to be told as well. I need to remind myself of the things that we need to do.
I felt that one hard, Ryan, at the end where you said maybe it's something that I need to be looking at myself, because the number of things that I write and I post, and Jason's read a lot of my Instagram posts and things, I can tend to go down a little bit of a poetic road sometimes. And like you said, it's sometimes things that I really need to be saying to myself, like in the mirror, and following that as well. And I think just quickly going back to the vulnerability piece, I think the beautiful thing about endurance sports and the people you get to share them with, like my wife is my crew chief. She has been at every race that I've been to except for one. My dad was at one of my other ones. And your crew, your pacers, anybody that's around you, like you're at your lowest. Like they literally see you at your lowest, most vulnerable point. And it's like if people could see each other at that point more often, I just think about how more raw and real, like we can have conversations and not hide things from one another. Like, and that's every time I go back to, it's like, if I have to have a hard conversation with somebody, I'm like, okay, you've literally been like on the side of a trail with your feet so sore that you had to get off of them and like slam your feet on the ground to get the feeling back in them. Like you can go and have this conversation. It's not that hard.
Right.
So I think those are those moments, and that's where I talk about like creating those memories and those things with these endurance sports. I think that's what it brings us. I don't know if you can relate to that, but
No, for sure. I mean, that's half the reason doing hard things in the morning. It's like, hey, the decisions after running, a half a marathon and doing a Murph challenge before 7 a.m. Decisions get a little bit easier after doing some stuff like that. At least in my mind, that's how it works. um, like you said, difficult conversation. Okay, whatever. Yeah, it's no big deal. I mean, it's just a conversation. It's not like you said, it's not like you just ran 100 miles and lost feeling in your left leg for 25 of them.
yeah, we definitely value harder things more than the easy. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move to our last segment. We do this with all of our guests. It's called Stop, Start, Continue, and it's based on the Japanese tradition of misogi. And it's at its core, misogi is about transformation, shedding old habits, beliefs, ideas, and really embracing and letting go in new and more powerful versions of yourself, all while letting go and surrendering in order to grow. So we have 3 questions. The first question is going to be your stop question. If you had to choose one mental or emotional habit you want to leave behind this year, what would it be and why?
Oof. Emotional or mental habit. Um, I think one thing that I'm working on currently is we talked about failing. We talked about quote unquote failing or whatever. I think it's that whole fail fast thing and move forward and not dwell, not spend too much brain energy after doing something. Like, hey, it's already done. We move forward. Okay, stop rewinding and going back to it every once in a while and having it like be an anchor point. Let's get rid of those anchors. Okay, even though they're small, they're not big anchors anymore, but just getting rid of those small little anchors that maybe you kind of just go back on every once in a while. So I'd like to stop doing that after decisions made. We can learn from it, but let's learn to move forward quickly. So I that's the one thing to stop.
Okay. Yeah, the phrase that popped into my mind when you were saying that was fail forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Start question. If you were to commit to a radical mental shift this year that would force you to grow in new ways, what would it be and why?
Oh, radical mental shift.
Something you want to start doing.
Jeez.
Jason and I are smiling because every time we ask these questions, the whole intent of these questions is to be deep and to have our guests like truly think about like all the conversations we've had and the questions that we've asked and just like really think about it. So take your time.
Yeah. Start, you know, all this positivity and the strong presence, everything, I would start to have more confidence in myself than maybe I currently have. I just kind of building upon it. Yeah, I guess I'll go with that. I don't know if that's really what you're looking for, but
yeah, no, create the foundation to build more confidence. That's what I'm hearing. And the final question: continue. If you had to symbolically cleanse or renew one aspect of your mental health in the next year, what would it be and why?
just the relentless pursuit of just staying optimistic and positive with energy, contagious energy, that brings people along for the ride and raises their energy and their positivity. So I think it's continually building upon what I put out in this world. Just like boats, right? The whole water thing. Let's just keep raising the water level. So keep filling buckets up with positive energy, and keep raising the tide of whoever I come in contact with. The conversation I have today at the gas station, the conversation we have, the interactions on LinkedIn, the interactions at the family dinner table, in the community, at work. Just keep putting out positive vibes and keep building people up along the way.
Yeah, beautiful.
Ryan, we want to thank you for your vulnerability and your willingness to share pieces of your story with us today. Before we let you go, do you have any final thoughts or words of wisdom, or maybe a story that you want to leave us with?
I would say, so it's just stemming back to the grandfather piece. You don't think it at the time, but it goes, whether you have kids or not, somebody's always watching, right? Somebody's always watching you. So it's saying, right, what you do in the dark matters. What you do when nobody's looking matters. That's the true test of your character. So just encourage people to do the right thing always. Man, you got one shot at this thing we call life. Make an impact today. Make a positive impact on somebody's life. Smile, make eye contact. People don't do that anymore, right? People will be blown away if you make eye contact with them and smile. They will be blown away. And guess what? You may change that person's life forever. They may think that they weren't even noticed today. And they say, oh, wow, somebody has noticed me and say hi to me. Man, they may be going to do something crazy with their life, and you may just make it. That's how simple it is to make a positive impact in this world. I believe the power of one. I believe if we all make a vow to impact one life today, we change our world in, like, I think the multiplication is like 28 days, something crazy like that. If we all impact one at a time, and we keep multiplying, so it's so powerful what we can do. We're only here for, I don't know, at the most 100 years, right? Maybe 20, maybe 50, maybe 60, maybe 100. Make the most of today. It's taken me a long time to realize the impact that we can have. And don't go too long without taking care of yourself. It's the whole oxygen mask thing. I know it's old and it's been said billions of times, but it's so true. Take care of yourself, so that way you can take care of everybody else. So you can be the best version of yourself today. And that's the whole beauty of getting up and doing hard things and taking care of yourself, so that way you can be a light in this dark world. Keep shining.
That's awesome. Appreciate that. So where can people connect with you and with all of the things that you're putting out into the world?
Yeah, love to stay connected on LinkedIn. It's the only platform I'm on. I don't do the other social medias or anything like that. No knock on them. I don't know. I kind of get sideways a little bit and waste time. But anyways, find me on LinkedIn or RyanDubois.com.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. On behalf of Evan and myself, I want to thank you for joining us on Enduring Minds. We are a proud part of the Everyday Athlete Podcast Network, one of 9 incredible shows. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and leave a comment, as it will continue to allow us to bring incredible guests like Ryan Dubois onto the show, who will share their captivating stories to the Enduring Minds community. We appreciate you, and until next time, let's continue going the distance and breaking the silence together.